Earlier, I spoke to the director of the Australian War Memorial, Dr. Brendan Nelson, and started by asking what he made of the allegations.
Well, I'm not sure what the correct emotion is to describe, whether it's anger or sadness, and indeed it's a bit of both. I find it extraordinary that a media outlet, in defence of a defamation action brought by a Victoria Cross recipient, would release all of this information into the public domain. I have to ask where lies the national interest in tearing down our heroes? In this particular case, Ben Roberts-Smith, the most highly decorated Australian soldier in half a century. There are some things in which we have to believe. We have to believe in the heroism and the institution of the Victoria Cross, and we also have to believe that when we send Australian men and women into war zones, particularly the kind of things that are done by the SAS in Afghanistan, that any media outlet needs to be extremely careful before publishing a whole range of what Mr Roberts-Smith regards as wildly inaccurate and misrepresentative claims.
Have you spoken to Mr Roberts-Smith in the past 24 hours since these allegations surfaced?
No, I haven't, but I have spoken to his wife, Emma, just again to pass on my sense of frustration and sadness that these accusations and allegations and things that are strongly repudiated by Ben Roberts-Smith have been published again. Every human being, even a Victoria Cross recipient, has a breaking point. And I know that from speaking to Ben in the past about these allegations, that he says to me, look, I can deal with the military stuff because I know it isn't true, but it's the publication and accusations which he says he strongly repudiates in relation to his personal life that he is particularly distressed about, and who wouldn't be? And I regard one of the most important things in life as being loyalty. And I think as Australians, we have to be loyal to the Victoria Cross. We have to be loyal to the men. In this case, it's still 100 men who've been awarded the cross. And there is a quasi-judicial independent inquiry which is being conducted forensically into all of these accusations and allegations. Why is it that a media outlet and a group of journalists think that they are above this and that they feel the need to publish these allegations which are so hurtful, not only to Ben Roberts-Smith and his family, but hurtful to the confidence that we have to have in the Victoria Cross and the people in whom we have to believe. We have to believe in our heroes, and it's not the place, I think, of media outlets in this case to tear them down.
The defence document filed in the federal court by Fairfax accuses Ben Roberts-Smith of murdering or being complicit in the murder of 6 Afghan males. Now, we know Ben Roberts-Smith has vigorously denied these claims. There's no doubt, though, Dr Nelson, that these allegations against Australia's most decorated soldier are highly disturbing.
Well, I'm disturbed by the fact that the allegations are made, that I hope that they are being forensically examined by the Independent Inspector General's inquiry, but Ben Roberts-Smith himself strongly repudiates these allegations. But the other thing that I'd say to just everyday Australians, context is everything. If this sort of behaviour were, if it is true, if it were to be going on in downtown Brisbane or Perth or Adelaide, of course we would be absolutely outraged. But let us consider and not forget the context in which this kind of behaviour has occurred. And that is in Afghanistan. We have been fighting our longest war. We have 42 dead. 7 of those Australians were killed by rogue Afghan soldiers. 1 is a posthumous Victoria Cross. And we have been dealing with an enemy that thinks nothing of tying a headless torso to the back of a ute and driving it around a village to scare the living daylights out of people. We've been fighting a war where we don't know where the enemy could be anything from a young child to a very elderly grandmother and everything in between. Ben Roberts-Smith has spent the equivalent of 3 full-time years in Afghanistan as a member of the SAS. He's been awarded the Medal of Gallantry. he's been awarded the Victoria Cross. There are men today who are home with their families because of him. And every Australian that hears anything of these Fairfax allegations or reads them, just consider the fact that at Teesark in June 2010, when that SAS troop was being inserted, they were fired from multiple positions by machine gun fire, rocket-propelled grenade launchers. One, in fact, went right up between Ben Roberts-Smith's legs as they were being inserted. And then on the ground, heavily outnumbered, outfired, they got to within 40 metres of that compound. He then openly exposed himself to draw enemy fire and managed to get, once a grenade had been thrown behind the wall and kill the machine gunners. He took out another insurgent. It's a miracle the man is alive, and this is the treatment that he gets from elements of the Australian media. To say I'm angry would be an understatement.
Dr Nelson, you mentioned context, and I know that in the past you have said that war is messy. Does Australia need to know the truth, whatever that is?
We need to know the truth, and we will get the truth from the Inspector General's inquiry. And in fact, in the last conversation I had with Ben Roberts-Smith, which was some weeks ago now, he in fact said, I want the truth to be known and to be told. And as those who are conducting the inquiry must themselves be very concerned about what appear to be some kind of leaks that are coming from it into the media, and then the Fairfax, in this particular case, feeling the need to publish these allegations. I'd also say about war, Danita, you and I haven't been shot at, most Australians haven't been shot at. But it is, as you say, it's a very messy business. But one of the things I do know is that within a tight-knit group of people, in this case the SAS, our commandos, there are a whole range of emotions and motives that individuals can have. There are different recollections of adrenaline-charged incidents that occur in war in particular. And I think that every Australian should maintain, I certainly do, my confidence in Ben Roberts-Smith. I maintain my confidence in the Victoria Cross, and I maintain my confidence in the independent inquiry that's being conducted. But you have to ask yourself, I know there are a lot of things happening in Australia at the moment which deeply concern all of us. But we're now in a situation where the widow of a dead, decorated SAS soldier has to come out and defend the integrity of her late husband and also his friend, Ben Roberts-Smith, VC MG. And I simply say to these people in the media, let justice have its course. And I say to those who are conducting the Inspector General's inquiry, can we please get on with it?
We did hear that widow come out today defending her late husband, and we know that this is the second time in recent months that allegations against Ben Roberts-Smith have surfaced. Are you worried this could translate into reputational loss, not just for Ben Roberts-Smith, but also for Australian military personnel?
I think at the moment, there's an element of our society that are titillated by this sort of thing, and we've got people who read and follow Fairfax and people like that, but the overwhelming majority of Australians, Bob Hawke, John Howard used to call them the mob, the overwhelming majority of Australians certainly believe in a fair go. They know that these men have been sent repeatedly at the pointy end of the spear into Afghanistan, into an asymmetric war. They know that war is messy. They know things that happen that perhaps shouldn't happen. They know mistakes get made. The average Australian is pretty smart, and the average Australian is pretty decent. They also know that there are lots of people that should have got a Victoria Cross that didn't, but they also know there's nobody who got one who shouldn't. And I know when Ben Roberts-Smith comes to the Australian War Memorial or wherever I am with him in any public space, the man can't move for people that want to shake his hand, have their photo taken with him. And I want to send a very strong signal to Australians and also to those who profess to be in positions of leadership that I stand by Ben Roberts-Smith. I believe in him, and I will stand by him no matter what happens in the future. I love his family. I remind Australians and I remind these journalists, and Fairfax in particular, that he too has a family. and so we'll be interested to see what the court determines in relation to the defamation action that is brought against them.
Director of the Australian War Memorial, Brendan Nelson, thank you so much for joining us today.
The least I could do. Thank you.